Thank you, Madam Chair. I think before I begin, our witnesses wanted to provide something for each of you on the dais, and then I'll go ahead and start, and that's going. And she'll explain it. Okay. Chair and members, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members. Thank you, colleagues, for being here today. In another round of destructive cuts, President Trump officially ordered the end of all national 9888 LGBTQ+ suicide prevention funding. For a little bit of context, since 2022, 988, the nation's official hotline for suicide prevention and crisis management, has offered specialized services for LGBT+ callers that are desperately in need. The funding for this program was officially halted, and those services are ending on July 17th, in just a few days. AB 727 is a bill rooted in urgency. We are confronting a growing mental health crisis among LGBTQ+ youth across our state. Schools should be a safe place for children to learn, to build friendships, to develop a sense of belonging. Unfortunately, the reality is stark. Our schools are the third most common location where LGBTQ+ youth experience hate crimes, with incidents more than doubling between 2018 and 2022, according to the FBI. In a report conducted by the CDC, they found that 20% of surveyed students who identified as gay, lesbian, or bisexual reported having to attempt suicide, compared to 6% of their heterosexual peers. This reality jumps to nearly 26% for transgender high school students alone. That means that thousands of children have actively attempted suicide because they felt they had nowhere else to turn. We recognize that more must be done, and this bill, although might be small but necessary, it is a step toward providing critical resources to students by including the Trevor Project suicide hotline on the back of our student ID cards. California needs to be that lifeline, especially when our federal government is failing us every single day. California needs to be that safeguard, needs to be that beacon, and needs to be that beacon of hope. With me this morning to highlight the impact of this bill is Eve Banis, Sacramento LGBT Center's Advocacy and Training Lead as our technical expert, and Bridget McCarthy with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, who is here to share her personal story on this bill. Eve?
Hello, my name is Eve Banis with the Sacramento LGBT Community Center. The center works to create a region where all LGBTQ+ people can thrive. We support health and wellness, advocate for equity and justice, and work to uplift our diverse and culturally rich LGBT community. I'll be here to answer any technical questions you may have.
Thank you so much. My name is Bridget McCarthy, and I'm on the board of the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, the Greater Los Angeles and Central Coast chapter. I'm here because my amazing son, Riley Chart, died by suicide in September 2020. He died in his bedroom less than 2 weeks after his 16th birthday. His birthday balloons were still in his room. Since then, I've been on a mission to spread suicide awareness to all corners of our community. Immediately, I started memorial funds with two respected charity organizations, the Trevor Project and the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. AFSP is the largest public funder of suicide research and a leader in the fight to prevent suicide. And the Trevor Project is a leading organization to fight teen suicide. The Trevor Project is a direct resource for LGBTQ+ youth who are 3 times more likely to die by suicide than their peers. Hence my request. I have no agenda here. Suicide is a public health problem. It's a leading cause of death in the United States, and it's preventable. I believe that AB 727, as introduced by Assemblyman Mark Gonzalez, offers vital help. I believe it will save young lives. After Riley died, we discovered that he had texted a friend for help. The friend did not reply. Despite extensive therapy and visits to doctors, Riley did not have appropriate helpline numbers in his phone. He had a veteran's number that he did not call. Instead, he reached out to a gay friend who didn't pick up. Being a proud member of the LGBTQ community, I believe Riley would have phoned or texted an LGBTQ-specific number. He felt that people who were not like him did not understand him. He had no one to reach out to, and that breaks my heart. Suicide hotlines can be that vital connection, giving space between a suicidal feeling and the action, and sometimes the feeling passes in just a few minutes. When I found Riley, it was just a few minutes too late. The last text to that gay friend was just 15 minutes earlier. I wish dearly that he'd had an LGBTQ number available. I believe he would have called it. I believe our young people will call if the number's right in front of them. Since the inception of 988, we've received over 16 million contacts, including text, which is vitally important for young people. Please pass this bill. I believe from the bottom of my heart that it will save lives, like my beautiful boy, Riley Chart. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that is here to speak in support of AB 727? If so, please use the mic at the railing.
Good morning. Craig Pulser on behalf of Equality California in strong support.
Good morning. Genevieve Schweitzer on behalf of Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis as a proud co-sponsor in support. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Amy Brown on behalf of the California Charter Schools Association in support.
Sam Nasher on behalf of the Los Angeles County Office of Education in support.
McLean Rosansky with the Alameda County Office of Education in support.
Catherine Squire on behalf of the California Commission on the Status of Women and Girls in support.
Mitch Steiger with CFT, also in support.
Good morning, George Cruz on behalf of the California Behavioral Health Association in support.
Elizabeth Segura with the California Alliance of Child and Family Services in strong support. Thank you.
Olivia Garcia, St. Francis High School graduate in support.
Autumn Glennon, a graduate at St. Francis High School in strong support.
Richard Barton, Director of Housing Services, Youth Shelters for the Sacramento LGBT Center, where in my first 6 months working there, we've prevented 3 active suicides. And our mental health service providers tell us that 1 in 3 of the people they talk to are planning or actively seeking ways to kill themselves, in strong support.
Thank you. Thank you for your powerful testimony as well. We are now going to turn it over to witnesses in opposition. You will each have 2 minutes to share your testimony.
Hi. Suicidal youth need help, but not from Trevor Project, which masquerades as a suicide hotline. I'm Brenda Lebsack, a retired teacher, former state delegate of the California Teachers Association, school board member of Santa Ana Unified, and founder of the Interfaith Statewide Coalition. Today I speak on behalf of the Interfaith Coalition representing Orthodox Muslims, Catholics, Protestants, and Jews. We've been sounding the alarm on a grassroots level that Trevor Space, accessed through Trevor Project, is dangerous for kids. This is how I discovered the dangers. I worked in 7 elementary schools and noticed posters in student restrooms with Trevor Project as an LGBT suicide prevention resource. I was concerned about oversight, so I texted the number pretending to be a child. I said, "I'm unsure about my gender and scared about puberty. What should I do?" Once the phone counselor established I was not suicidal, I was referred to Trevor Space to explore my genders and sexualities in an affirming international community. I followed their directives, put in a date of birth of a 13-year-old, and had immediate access to all kinds of chat clubs, such as Guilt and Secrets, Furries, Non-Binary Pals, Witchcraft, a gay men's club with the tagline, Let's Talk About Boys, ! Chosen Family Club. I saw chats that said, I'm lonely and need a friend, with responses of, I'll be your friend. As a teacher, I took this disturbing evidence to a law firm to present it to the superintendent as a liability issue. As a result, Santa Ana Unified removed all Trevor Project posters out of the elementary school restrooms. Trevor Space places all students, especially those who identify as LGBTQ, at a higher risk of human trafficking and sexual exploitation. Please go to trevorspace.org before you vote today. The Interfaith Coalition urges you to vote no on AB 727 so we can make schools a safe place. Thank you.
First, I want to acknowledge and thank very much your testimony, ma'am. Thank you. It was very courageous. Appreciate you. My name is Kevin Brown. I'm the founder of Lives Worth Saving and a former law enforcement officer with 30 years of experience combating crime and as a SWAT team member. Since retiring, I have spent over a decade identifying and recovering those being sexually exploited locally, nationally, and internationally, including children exploited on the dark web. I strongly oppose AB 727, which mandates printing the Trevor Project hotline on student ID cards. While I support suicide prevention, I am deeply concerned about the risk of Trevor Space, the online community linked to the hotline. Trevor Space is unmonitored, does not verify user age, and explicitly states it is not for crisis intervention or suicide prevention. This creates an unsafe environment where adults can interact with minors. Creating an account posing as a 14-year-old male, I quickly accessed unmonitored chat rooms. I observed conversations moving to platforms like Discord, a communication platform I have personally used in the past when dealing with persons who sell and distribute child sexual abuse materials. Based on my experience of debriefing over 100 sexual abuse survivors, I know how sexual predators use such spaces to groom vulnerable youth. They use patience, manipulation, and are skilled at building trust with victims, especially in unmonitored online spaces. Trevor Space unfortunately provides that exact environment. The existing 988 National Suicide Hotline is sufficient. Adding a second hotline that can funnel students into a risky online environment is not only unnecessary, but dangerous. I urge you to vote no on AB 727 and protect our youth. If you have any questions about how a predator uses the grooming process, please ask. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We will now take any other witnesses in opposition. Please use the mic at the railing and state your name, organization, and position on the bill.
Good morning. Lieutenant Julio De Leon on behalf of the Riverside County Sheriff's Office, and our position is regarding the human trafficking aspect, not the LGBTQ aspect. Thank you.
Emily Campbell with the Cali Baptist Capital Ministries, and in behalf of Lighthouse Baptist Church, we strongly oppose.
Brock Campbell from the California Baptist Capital Ministry. On behalf of Freedom's Way Baptist Church in Castaic, we oppose.
Nathan Pierce, Private Home Educators of California, in opposition.
Jonathan Keller with California Family Council, likewise in opposition, not because of the suicide component, but because of the unmonitored component regarding human trafficking. So respectful opposition.
Good afternoon. My name is Amber Arias. I'm here from Stand Up Ministry, Calvary Chapel Solano, and other organizations, including Calvary Chapel San Jose, Calvary Chapel Chino Hills, Capital Resource Institute, Taking Back the Classroom, and Freedom Angels. And we are in strong opposition of this demonic bill. Thank you.
Arian Adam Chikova, 23-year veteran, CTA teacher, suicide attempt survivor when I was a teen, in support of suicide hotlines, but absolutely opposed to this bill, mother of a formerly trans-identified youth who was in online spaces similar to Trevor Space, which I was also able to get in on as a 56-year-old woman. And he was absolutely groomed online in spaces similar.
Excuse
Please.
me,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Just name, organization,
Got it.
position on the bill. That's it. You're done. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Disbro. I'm a representative for Moms for Liberty, Contra Costa County, also Informed Parents of Contra Costa County. I'm a 34-year veteran bilingual teacher. I'm very concerned about safety, grooming, trafficking, and I don't want any child who needs
Again, this
suicide-
is name and position on the bill. Name and position on the bill.
My name is Amanda Covatana. I'm a longtime Democrat and lesbian activist. I'm with Women Are Real, and I strongly oppose.
My name is Leslie Alves. I am from Alameda County and Community Impact Team, and I strongly oppose.
I'm Kim Johnson from Alameda County Community Impact, and I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is Susan Pete. I am a parent and grandparent, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Pastor Brandon Campbell, California Baptist for Biblical Values, Northern California Director, in opposition.
Barbara Walker, daughter of a mom who took her own life with dozens of suicide prevention cards in her wallet, here with Women Are Real, Californians United for Sex-Based Evidence in Policy and Law, strongly oppose AB 727. Thank you.
Thank you. And just so folks understand, we have to be out of this room by 1 o'clock, which is why we have to continue to move everything along. Thank you to all those who shared their testimony. We will now turn it over to our members. Do members have questions or comments? Senator Gonzalez.
I just want to say thank you very much to the author for bringing this forward. I have a 10-year-old that goes to public schools, and I'm just really, really grateful that you're bringing this forward to be able to, combat the atrocities that are happening with LGBTQ youth in some cases, where they feel that life is so hard that they have to take their own. It's estimated, this is per the LA Sheriff's Department, LA County, that LGBTQ children ages 13 plus attempt suicide every 45 seconds in the U.S., and offering a supportive environment that helps the individual experience acceptance and belonging, such as those described, serves a significant protective factor against emotional distress and suicide. And in fact, the LA County Sheriff's Department has also cited the Trevor Project, which I'm so grateful for, that our LA County Sheriff's Department has cited the Trevor Project. I'm looking at it here on this link, and it's so great. I can click on it. It has all the information on crisis service, peer support, public education, advocacy, and research, which is exactly what this bill will do. I ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Senator Chobog.
So, if I'm hearing correctly on the issues of concern, support, and ma'am, thank you for coming here and dedicating your life and purpose. I cannot imagine. As a mom of 3 kids, I can't imagine your life experience, ma'am. Having said that, I am grateful for the school districts for putting in a suicide hotline. I'm very well aware of the suicide statistics for the LGBTQ community, but I do share the concerns that have been expressed by the opposition with regards to not the Trevor Project, but the Trevor Space, and being associated with the Trevor Project. And I think that is something that should be considered and should be a concern and should be further verified as to whether or not those safety components, if we have sheriffs that are coming in not objecting to the Trevor Project, but objecting to the Trevor Space, which is affiliated and directly linked to it, I think that is something that the safety components should be very well concerns. So having said that, a question to the author would be, there were concerns expressed with the fact that there are no actual safeguards to ensure that the folks calling in or being directed to have age verifications. What in this bill would actually confirm or address those concerns about age verification?
Yeah, so first I just want to speak a bit more about the Trevor Space. So it was designed with strategies that are scientifically proven to improve youth mental health and reduce suicide risk for youth. That was the reason for creating the Trevor Spaces. But unfortunately, we have seen a rise in disinformation and anti-LGBT rhetoric regarding this life-saving tool. I would argue that demonstrates why we need this tool in the first place, but I also want to address the safety concerns that you're raising. So first of all, we heard claims that these are unmoderated. That is not true. All chats that take place on this platform are moderated, and that includes private chats. So everything is moderated both by a team of trained moderators, so staff of the Trevor Project, and it is also constantly monitored by AI technology. So both of those are constantly screening everything on there, including private chats for any prohibited content. Individuals over 25 are prohibited from participating in this service. They're prohibited from joining this service. And they also have extensive, strict rules prohibiting folks who are aged 18 to 24 from having conversations with the folks 18 and under. So even within the groups that can access this, there are more restrictions there. I also just want to highlight that the Trevor Project is the nation's leading LGBT suicide prevention organization, to the point that the federal 988 hotline has referred hundreds of thousands of callers to the Trevor Project over the last 3 years. This is the trusted resource for LGBT suicide hotlines. And I want to bring us back to the bill at hand, which is the Trevor Project Suicide and Crisis Line. And do you have anything to add?
I think my question was just with regards to the Trevor Space and the safety guards within this bill that would allow that. And I think that to have, we may have one sheriff's organization, we have a national, but to have other sheriff organizations come and speak, public safety in concerns with the public, with the space and the safety guards there, I think that is something that should be addressed. And I'm not an expert in this space, but when we have public safety officials addressing those concerns, I think that is something that needs to be addressed on that measure. But I am grateful that we do have a suicide prevention phone number available already in those school cards. And I think also it's interesting because this would be one avenue of aid within the LGBTQ community, but there are other organizations that are also addressing it from a different perspective, and it could be from a more of a religious perspective that could be allowed to be. I know this bill is not about that, but I'm just saying that there's other means of suicide prevention organizations that are working towards the same goal. And so I won't be able to support the bill today, with the utmost respect, because of the safety concerns that are associated within the space that is linked to the project. And so with that, I will.
Well, if I can respond, with all due respect, look, as my technical witness has said, that chat is monitored. I think that is being checked. It's using AI technology tools to do that. My initial concern, though, is that we have a lot of adults who are saying they're posing as 13-year-olds on that same website to test the waters on that. That's very concerning to hear that, especially from the opposition. But the Trevor Project is working to save lives, not to end them. And not passing this bill today signifies that folks are okay with that, and I'm not. So that's why we're bringing this bill up today.
Madam Chair, just respond to the insinuation. I'm not supporting suicide for anyone.
Correct.
I am an advocate for life.
That was not for you, Senator.
Okay, just in general.
Yes, this is a life bill, and I feel you on that, Senator.
Yeah. Senator Laird.
Thank you. I associate myself with the comments of my colleague from Long Beach, who I think did a good job and actually showed a link to law enforcement in what she was saying. And I think that it has been really rebutted that these are unmoderated or that the space is an unsafe space. It's clearly moderated. The testimony to the contrary does not seem to be true. And I would just say from my own personal experience, it was really being in a group of other people when I was in my 20s that helped me deal with just the challenges of life. At the time that was happening, it was against the law to be gay in all 50 states. It was a challenge, and it took the safety of conversations with other people to know I wasn't alone. And so I think this is an affirmative step on the issue of suicide, and and I have the utmost respect for my colleague that just spoke, and we always try to keep from being snarky really directly, but it's one of those things about, we say to people, get your own bill, and so if you wish to have suicide resources that are additional, that's the possibility of a bill at some point. This bill...
Not as a Republican here. They won't go anywhere.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But right now, this bill's in front of us. I think it's an affirmative step on the issue of suicide. I think the opposition has been rebutted, and at the appropriate time, I would be happy to make a motion.
Thank you, Senator Laird. Senator Choi?
Yeah, just to simply state that this bill is adding hotline, suicide prevention hotline for student ID cards for LGBTQ population. I wonder, suicide is always something that we need to do our best to prevent. However, this is, I don't know how we can, I think there's many resources that people will know, but specifically identifying particular group and that the particular line has to be for LGBTQ. And the Trevor Project, I understand, provides all kinds of resources in the adults that in itself has a lot of problems. Adults could behave just like pretend that they are kids, but simply stating this ID card, how many phone numbers do we have to provide? Because there could be many different subgroups that will require, we need this line, we need this line. I don't think any lives would be prevented by adding any additional hotline for the specific purpose for preventing suicide. So I don't think this is an effective way. So I don't think we can, even allow how many lines in a small ID card can we accommodate.
So 988 is specific to the crisis helpline and diverts the calls to the Trevor Project specifically. As we have seen nationally, that line is getting completely gutted by this federal administration. This is allowing the Trevor Project specifically, who deals specifically with LGBTQ plus issues, to be that lifeline of support. We also have 911, 211, 311, 411. We have a lot of other sources that we contact for other information as it relates to trash services and other services. But the reason why those lines are created is because it's bifurcated to fit the services that you need. This 988 helpline, which is specific to the Trevor Project, is for those folks who identify in those spaces to be able to contact somebody who understands that issue. When you contact a 411 and ask you to press 2 for Spanish or another line for another language, like in my case in Koreatown Korean, you want to be able to have that conversation with this person who has that cultural understanding as to what your issue is. Being LGBTQ plus does not discriminate. And suicide and those thoughts of suicide does not either. And so having that lifeline of support to somebody who understands, that can save lives, That's the goal here, saving lives. And if you're pro-life, today is the day to save those lives.
I'm pro-life, definitely. I had a group, Orange County Warm Line operation group of people came to me, and how essential that Warm Line is, unburdening 911 calls. And I asked the phone number, and it was one of those regular numbers, not 811 or 911, kind of easy to remember lines. I mean, they can come up with the same reason. Hey, we need this line on every student's ID cards. Then can we accommodate that?
Yes.
And how many lines can we create? To me, this is not the right way. There are many different ways, so we can advise and counseling services can be provided a lot easier than when a particular young student is in feeling of making commit suicide, and I couldn't find the number and go to ID. I don't think that is I don't know how many times people will effectively use that. That this is just a symbolic, is not practical.
Thank you for bringing this bill forward, Assembly Member. AB 727. As folks were discussing and chatting about this here, I just did some poking around and do want to highlight, Trevor Space is an entirely different platform and a very different application than the actual hotline that is going to be listed on these cards that you are referencing. The hotline is very clearly stated as a hotline. Actually, when I go onto the Trevor Space website, it very clearly states that if you're seeking counseling or mental health support, it redirects you to actually a completely separate area of their website. And I say that as somebody who went onto the website right now. And so these are very different platforms. In addition to that, when I attempted to sign up right now onto the Trevor Space website, it asks for name, it asks for information, such as date of birth, and also ask you to connect social media as well. And I'm assuming that the platform does that in order to better track who is signing up, what their age is, and also be able to track their social media should something nefarious happen. The reality is, unfortunately, because of digital spaces that we've created, that we have to get better at regulating and identifying these spaces. Unfortunately, most of the internet exists in this dangerous way. I have a whole separate bill related to addressing child grooming in K-12 schools that actually looks to expand some of those definitions to take into account the World Wide Web and all of the changes that we've seen. As well as private schools, because we know that that's something that is very concerning. So, I do want to highlight, while I understand the concerns I think that the opposition has raised, it's also very clear that this is a very different mechanism in terms of what's being listed here. The hotline is a suicide prevention hotline dedicated to getting mental health support to those that need it. And I am so sorry to hear about the tragic loss of your son who desperately needed help in that moment. And that's what this bill is about. It's about trying to ensure that we're getting resources to those individuals that are in crisis. And as somebody that has dealt with depression, that has attempted suicide when I was very young, I see absolutely the purpose and the need for this bill. And so I do want to emphasize that in terms of regulation of online spaces. Absolutely, that is something that we are always going to continue to need to move the needle on. But that is not just something that exists within this legislation or within a website or online forum on a group called Trevor Space. It exists throughout throughout the web, and it is something that I think this entire legislature has continued to focus on and work on, and will continue to need to work on. So I will turn it over to Assemblymember Gonzalez to close, but very happy to support this bill, and am recommending a strong aye recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members, and thank you again. I just want to clarify for my colleague, in terms of your comments and my response back to it, it was not about you. It's about the overall folks and it's frustrating to me to hear folks who are in opposition to this, because we're simply just trying to protect people's lives and be that safeguard for them to be able to see another day. And I wanted to clarify that with you first, but I just want to thank my colleagues in the Senate for their words today and for folks expressing those concerns. And we do have to do more to monitor every single chat room. And we have to monitor those spaces where we let our children into those arenas, and who is monitoring that and making sure that they feel safe and they are protected. I want to thank E for being here and Bridget for sharing your personal story. This is obviously not the first time that you've shared that, but because you shared that story, lives were saved at that. I want to give some quick stats about, according to the 2022 Trevor Project study, 40% of AAPI LGBT youth seriously considered suicide in the past year, including 50% of AAPI transgender and non-binary youth, and 49% of Pacific Islander Native American LGBTQ+ youth. Latino, 17% of Latino LGBT youth reported attempting suicide. African American, just over 1 in 5, or 21% of Black, transgender, non-binary questioning young people reported a suicide attempt in just the past year. Nearly a third, or 32% of Black, transgender, LGBT youth people reported having seriously considered suicide in just the past year. And I want to thank our chair for sharing her personal story. I did not know that, and I want to thank you for bringing that up and sharing that today. It's not easy to share that. To those who raise the concerns about religion, I get it. I'm a practicing Catholic. I go to church every Sunday myself. I understand that the value and the sacredness of faith traditions, but I also believe that our faith compels us to do more, not less, for the most vulnerable among us. In Matthew 25:40, Jesus says, "Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." That verse does not come with condition. It does not say only if it fits your image. It says whomever, because Christ's love is boundless. It's also about making sure that every child, regardless of who they are, know they're worthy of love, care, and protection. It should also be where mercy is shown, where justice is lifted, and where the command to love thy neighbor is made real in the lives of our people. Now is not the time to fear of division. Now is not the time to be the good Samaritan. Now is the time to be that person who says, cross that road, bind up the wounds, to say, you matter, you are not alone. AB 727 is a light into dark. It's a quiet light in that storm. It's a promise, and it's a signal to every LGBTQ+ youth that they belong, that they are seen, and that they, but that we matter, that their lives matter. The world sees their light. They are never invisible. And that their story is far from over. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is a moral one. When young people's lives are at stake, silence is not an option. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Assemblymember. I know Senator Laird had made a motion, but he did leave, so do we have a motion? Thank you, Senator Cortese. We have a motion for AB 727, and the motion is due pass to the Senate Appropriations Committee. Assistant, can you please call the roll?
Senators Perez?
Aye.
Perez, aye. Ochobog? No. Ochobog, no. Cabaldon? Choi? Cortese? Choi, no. Cortese? Aye. Cortese, aye. Gonzalez? Laird?
Thank you, and we'll put that bill on call.